What's up, YouTube? My name is Doug, and if you're new to the channel, I'm a former English teacher and first-year medical student in Poland. In this video, I'm going to talk about why I'm switching careers and going to medical school at the age of 34. This is a topic I was asked about repeatedly throughout the admissions process to medical school, in my essays and in my interview, and it's a question that I'm still asked today by some of my classmates here in Poznan. If you are a non-traditional student like me, you will of course be asked the same question: why medicine and why now? So I hope you find this video insightful, and I hope it helps you to better articulate your own reasons for wanting to study medicine. To start off, I'll give you a brief synopsis of my first career. After earning an MA in English, I taught college writing in Hawaii, Cambodia, and China for a total of 5 years. I also tutored kids online and taught business English, situational English, and conversational English in a variety of language centers. Outside of teaching, I had a handful of publications in literary journals, a pushcart nomination, I presented my curriculum ideas at conferences, and in my final year I was employed as a full-time curriculum designer in China doing English for chemistry majors. So that was my first career in a nutshell, a total time investment of 7 years. Back to today's question, why the change? The short answer is that I've been thinking about medicine for a very long time. I had reached a point in my first career where I was getting really good at my job. My students liked me for the most part. I was designing really sweet lesson plans and moving up to better positions, but I was deeply unfulfilled. I wanted to do more, something more necessary to human life and something that allows me to have a more tangible impact on the world. My vision is to be the 80-year-old doctor who's seen just about everything. He's a pillar, or she is a pillar of the community, and has no plans of retiring. That's the short answer. The long answer is, as an undergrad, I was very undecided between studying language and medicine. I'd had 5 knee surgeries between the ages of 14 and 23 for my osteochondritis dissecans, but that's for another video. This is where my interest in medicine originally came from. But as an English major, I fell in love with my writing and literature courses and wound up pursuing a master's degree in English and became a writing teacher. That decision haunted me on and off for the next 7 years. My entire first career, I had this recurring existential crisis where I questioned the decisions that I'd made and felt it was a mistake not to become a doctor. Now, I'll try to describe these existential crises a little more, and maybe something will resonate with you if you're also thinking of changing directions in your own life. The first existential crisis occurred while I was still in grad school working on my master's. I was surfing off Diamond Head, and I'm by no means a good surfer, but I was out in a surf advisory when I saw this man go over the lip of a large wave and concuss himself on his longboard. I assisted a group of people in pulling the guy out of the water and onto the shore, and I remember the ambulance and the paramedics coming down, taking the guy off, carrying him up the cliff and into the ambulance off to the hospital, and I'm standing there on the beach and I'm thinking, I'm in the wrong place. I want to go with the guy in the ambulance. I want to be there with the nurses and the doctors when they're running tests and running labs and figuring out what happened to his brain and his spinal cord, and they're nursing him back to life. The idea of returning to class the next day, I think I had a seminar on young adult fiction, it felt very hollow by comparison. But I pushed through and I finished my MA. The second existential crisis happened after my very first year of teaching. I was at a Japanese college in Hawaii, and I began to feel again like I was out of place. I loved being in the classroom and in a mentoring role. I still do. But I had this conviction of wanting to do more, something with higher stakes and something more necessary to human life. On top of this, I was an adjunct at the time, and it was sometimes tough to string together enough classes just to pay rent. You get the feeling pretty quickly as an adjunct writing teacher that you are disposable, and this feeling did not help. So I enrolled in chemistry and bio while teaching part-time at the Japanese college. I paid out of pocket for these courses because I already had $25,000 in debt from my prior education. So I studied when I wasn't teaching, grading papers or lesson planning. I made flashcards and I took these with me to school, and between teaching, I'd have 15-minute breaks and I'd be running through my flashcards. I'd run to the bathroom, take my flashcards with me. Finally, I reached a breaking point and I looked to my students. They were doing quite well in their TOEFL exam. That was the standard for this particular university. And my students were successfully transferring into American colleges, which is what their goal was at that time. And my students liked me. That was enough validation for me at that time. I discontinued the prereqs and continued teaching. So I keep my head down, and a couple years later, I'm teaching in China. I'm a full-time writing instructor, not just an adjunct anymore. I'm researching literacy narratives, I'm presenting at conferences, and in my final year, I finally become a lecturer, not just an instructor or adjunct or teacher anymore. Finally, a lecturer. And I'm getting paid to design curriculum full-time. I just teach 10 hours face-to-face class time each week. Plus, I've got massive vacation time. I'm deadlifting 300 pounds. I visited Spain twice in a year. And who goes to Spain twice in a year anyway? Despite all the travel, I'm actually saving money. I had finally arrived in life and I was supposed to be happy. But instead, I had another existential crisis. At this college where I was doing English for chemistry majors, I was working alongside scientists and grad students doing innovative work in nanoparticles, nanochemistry, different types of nanoscience, and they were generally glowing with the excitement of their work. And I knew that if I were to continue teaching, that I would never feel that same excitement myself. I was drinking a terrific amount of beer, and in my darker moments, I felt that I had wasted 7 years of my life. Finally, I did take a step back, and I realized that I had chosen to become a teacher, and if I didn't want to continue down that path, then it was completely in my power to change it. So, at the age of 33, I went back to college for my postbac and became a pre-med student for the third time in my life. Finally finished up organic chemistry and physics, sat the MCAT, worked as an ER scribe in Houston. I applied to medical school in Poland, got accepted, and here I am. So that's the story of why I'm pursuing medicine as a second career in my 30s. In retrospect, a first career was not a waste of time. It was a necessary part of my development as a human being. For my personal growth, I needed to pursue literature and writing and teaching. The skills that I practiced in my first career, communication, sacrifice, creative problem solving, and teamwork, will be deeply useful to me in my future work as a physician. If you are a career changer like me, then know that you have probably also developed some skills that will carry over into your work as a physician. I'll leave you with one final message. Going to medical school at any age is a huge decision, of course, and it's all the scarier when you've invested in a first career. But if your heart is truly in medicine, and I know intimately how cliche that sounds, I was a writing teacher, but if you cannot imagine yourself doing anything else happily, then I do believe that going to medical school is a decision you will not regret. I personally feel relief and satisfaction knowing that my life's work will be in a field where I can make a difference every day and always be needed. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more on my journey through medical school in Poland. Do widzenia.